What you don't know about high quality accommodations. Welcome, everyone. I'm your host, Michelle Oliver, here with Talk About TV. And every Wednesday, we come to you, sponsored by Evolve Lodging, to share something that you may not be aware of yet in the experiential outdoor hospitality space. And I'm so happy to be here today with you, Amelia Dix of Wind River Built. And we're going to talk about this idea of quality with when you're building an accommodation. So, if welcome, first of all, thank you for being here today with
Thanks for
me.
having me. This is exciting.
Yeah, it is. So, we all know that if you own an RV resort or you're managing one or a glamping space or a dispersed hotel, any type of outdoor hospitality property, that you are looking to create a remarkable experience for your guests. And I think all of us have had that experience where we go into an accommodation and we're either wowed or we feel nothing or we're like, why did I choose to stay here? Right. And more as we travel, we become savvy guests, and our expectations are much higher than they used to be. Like we want to have what we want to have, right? If you're staying in, it
Absolutely.
might be a tiny home, like you go to an RV resort and you've been there before and you're coming back to experience a tent or a little cabin or whatever it is. So, what would you say, Amelia, are some of the criteria, some of the elements of just creating a high end experience when you're building one of these accommodations?
Yeah, I think that we all have experiences we can relate to and think of where we've gone to a short-term rental, and you can either tell if it was designed with beds in mind or with people in mind. Yeah, absolutely. And so I think that the way I think about the word experience, which is the number one term I feel like people are using when we talk about outdoor hospitality, there's people shifting away from hotels and going to RV resorts, campgrounds, landscape hotels. They're looking for an experience, but that's a really loaded word. What does it mean? And so I think, reflecting as yourself as a consumer, when you go on vacation, you want the place that you're staying at to feel at least as nice as your own home, but probably better, right? The experience that we're talking about is likely an elevated experience compared to what you see every day. And so, we're builders. We build luxury tiny homes, park models, and modular homes. And our focus has always been on quality of construction. And that's what kind of
Mhm.
differentiates us from a lot of manufacturers in this space is we came out of the tiny home industry where we were building luxury individual homes and we scaled from that while keeping the quality as opposed to manufacturers who are getting into the industry to provide as many homes as possible at as low a price point as possible to get you to your ROI as fast as possible. And of course, we want the developers that we work with to make a bunch of money, but we also want to set them up for the long term. And so when we talk about building quality, we're talking about long-term durability, but there are immediate implications, positive implications for the people who are staying in those homes. And you may or may not get that immediate feedback in words. They may not say, "Oh, I really love the attention to detail and the trim work around the
Right.
windows." But but all of these things are felt and experienced and play a role in their perception of the stay. And a lot of these resorts are really trying to create some loyalty and some return traffic. And that's where these little things start adding up. One example that I can give as far as, the things that we consider in the build methods that impact an experience is just how well sealed build envelope is. So they're not going
Mm.
to see the sheathing, they're not going to see the spray foam, but what they are going to notice is that when you have a well-built home that's well sealed and high quality windows and all of that, you get a higher level of audio privacy. And when we're talking about staying in very small spaces, for these kinds of short-term rentals, that makes a big difference. So you can't hear the park model next to you. So
I'm going to
audio.
comment on, yeah, I want to
Mhm.
comment on that for just a second. It's such an important and powerful piece that people really don't talk about these elements. And just to your point of like cramming in, like this is how people often think, right? I have this much space. How much can I cram in there so that I have a higher amount of revenue? When in fact, if you do deliver quality, you can charge more for these spaces. And then people want to come back, right? They want the experience again. And to your point, they're not going to be looking at the cracks and everything, but there is a subconscious experience that you have when you walk into a place. You don't really even know what it is, but you just feel better. And I
Mhm.
think so often of how simple it is, what people are asking for, really they do just want to feel better. They want to feel like they're not at home, like it is even slightly elevated so that they can experience themselves as an elevated version, of their life. It's like take me
Yeah.
away from my daily. Give me something more magical. So I think it's so interesting that you bring up audio
Mhm.
because we are affected by everything and sound is so powerful and I've never heard anybody bring it up before, and
Yeah.
until you're in an environment where it's grating on you and you're like, what? This is not peaceful. Then you only notice it when it becomes painful to you. So
Mhm.
I think that is really significant. The other thing is when you go to stay in a tent, and okay, I know we're talking to the glamping audience here, so there are tents and we do tents and everything, but um, it tends to be a kind of one and done experience. Like once you've done it, people often
Mhm.
say, I don't really need to go do that again. It was too cold, it was too hot, it was too loud. I could hear everything and the wind, and it was like too close to nature. So give me four walls that protect me, and then I'll go out and experience nature and come back, right? So yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's really an important element.
Mhm. I think another element that we take into consideration when we're designing, short-term rental properties is that the materials matter more than you know, and you may never hear about it. But when you're traveling, you want that home, even in between housekeeping, to stay as clean and pristine as possible. So choosing materials that are going to be resistant to showing fingerprints and showing dirt and things like this, kind of preserve that heightened experience that we're talking about. And then also keeping people really comfortable. So in hospitality, we talk about how comfortable the bed is. We all know that that's important, and people are going to comment if they don't like the mattress. But it's other things too, like the height of the toilet is important.
Yeah.
The comfortability sitting there can really impact someone's perception on the cabin or the cottage or what have you.
Gosh, I'm just remembering different experiences I've had, and you are so right. The thing
Hmm.
is, you don't want someone to walk away having felt, having noticed something, unless
Yeah.
it's positive, right?
Yeah.
Like the only thing you want them to notice is not that was weird, which I've had, I'm sure we've all had that so many times. Like that was just, there's something off, you know,
Mhm.
about something. But the only thing you really want them to notice is, wow, that was wonderful. Or how did they think of that? Because we're always trying to anticipate the need of the guest, right?
Yeah.
So doing that in these subtle ways and also the finishes, like you're talking about, the high quality. When you walk into a room and the textures are just right, where you're curious about it, you maybe want to touch it,
Mhm.
like what is that wall or that couch or
Yeah.
whatever. Those are all sensory, positive sensory opportunities and ways that you can impact your guests. So yeah, really, really good, really true.
Like the faucets, the way that the handle turns, you can tell if it's high quality or not. And that's a sensory experience.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
Um,
So you're really granular in your building. I mean, when we have had meetings with you, Evolve, we're working together now and we're very grateful about that. Um, but what I've noticed is, yes, your whole team comes together with a very varying skills, like from different areas. But the way you talk about these units is more like an artist. It's more like
yeah.
an artistic experience, even though you've got all the building skills or whatever you're bringing to the table from that. But everyone gathers as if this is a piece of art that we're collaborating on, and it's such a unique approach. Does it
Yeah.
feel that
I
way
think
to you, or is that's just my perception here?
we know that we approach things differently. I
Yeah,
think a
it's
term
good.
that, yeah, we use the word over-engineered a lot. Just like it's not just
Okay.
the fit and finishes at the end, but it's the whole process, you know. And if we're talking about park models, like we build our own trailers too, and gosh, are they beautiful when we go to shows, like the setup crew is just crawling underneath of our homes, just like look at those I-beams. So it's everything, but I think that
Look at those ivy.
yeah,
That's that's
they
so
nerd out on the
wonderful.
trade.
Yeah.
But it comes because, we've all lived, like our team, we've all lived in small, if not tiny spaces. So we understand the difference that it makes, because there's a heat map of that someone did. This is a residential study, okay, about how much square footage in your house that you use every day. And it
Yeah.
really comes down to like 200 square feet. And so there are very specific points in your house where you spend a lot of time. And in a tiny home, you use all of that space, but you're up close and personal with all of it. And so, if there's a blemish in the interior skins, you're going to see it and your eye is going to be drawn to it, but your eye is also going to notice when everything is just well made and put together and it just turns into more of a serenity retreat style place. And I think that, the biggest selling point for us is always when we have people out to see our homes and see it, because I can talk about this all day long. We can talk about this, but
Yeah.
when you're in high quality construction and when you're not, I mean, anyone can take nice photos, but when you're actually standing in it, whether or not you know how to build anything, you know if someone put care into it or not.
That's absolutely a fact. And it really shows in everything that you build. So share with us, if you would, like some of those structures that you have built. I know you guys are doing saunas now, and
Yeah.
which is really amazing, and they're beautiful. What else? Like,
We have a couple different markets that we're working in, and one of the major ones is outdoor hospitality, because of the level of quality that we're building to. That's a really good market for us to be in. Things like landscape hotels, experiential stays, and so for that reason, product development has delved into creating saunas and other type of perhaps some more wellness units in the future. So that's a good market for us. We've also done, we're looking at residential products to show that small homes, because we build modular, so it would be real estate, small homes can be luxury. So we're
yes,
excited to get into single family, missing middle developments, also multifamily developments. One of the projects that we finished this year was actually for student housing. We did 26 student housing, 4 students each. and were able to complete that project and cut their normal development time frame down by over a year.
Oh
So
my
that's another market
goodness,
for us.
that's powerful. Yeah,
You know.
that's a great market for you to be in.
Yeah. So those are
Wow.
those are the things we like. We really feel it's a mission motivated company, so we want to stay like we were born as Wind River Tiny Homes, and now we're Wind River Built because we're also offering modular homes, but we've learned that tiny homes is also not people in the hospitality industry know it more as park models. So we've rebranded, we're Wind River Built. Um, but all of that to say we like building small spaces, we're pretty good at it, and that's what we want to keep doing.
Muted, sorry. Unless there is, sorry about that. Unless there's something else you have in mind that you'd like to share, which we have plenty of time to do. So please share whatever you'd like. But I did want to ask you about something you brought up the other day that I thought was really powerful, which you called the peak end rule.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
something. So I recommend to everyone, one of my favorite books has been Paradox of Choice. And I read this book because I wanted to understand better, where is the line between offering someone too much choice and not offering them any choice at all. And this book talks about how there's oppression on both ends, which I think is really powerful. Like if you
Yeah.
overload people with choice, it starts to feel just as stifling and restrictive as if they didn't have a choice at all. So this book talks about that a lot, but it also brings up this peak end rule and some research that has been done around how people rate experiences. And this is really important because it's kind of speaking to the subconscious nature of how we interpret an experience. So, people are going to say, oh, well, I don't know if my guests care if it's, carpentry grade versus slab grade. Like they do care. And the reason is, I think part of it is in this peak end rule. So it talks about the most impactful experiences during a stay, during any experience is the peak. So the best and the worst. So two peaks, I suppose, and the end. And I would argue that when you're going to a resort or any short-term rental, the end always happens in the rental unit, in the park model, in the cottage. Um, and when they're leaving the property, so you want these things to be really well manicured because that's the part where you're engraving what it was like to stay there subconsciously, as well as, what was the best part and what was the worst part of your stay. Um, so you're gathering your things, you're packing up, you're really close with the fit and finish of the house. And so I really believe that that matters. So you can have all of these amenities and activities for people to go do, and that's all amazing. They're going to remember the best part about that. And then they're going to remember the end as well.
I really like that. I think it's really helpful to have these anchors when we're thinking about what we're doing, what we're delivering to our guests. And if you
Mhm.
have something like that, it just helps you understand the journey that this you're taking this person on. And when you're
Mhm.
looking at quality over quantity, you're always going to win because the return, and I mean the physical return of that guest, they will keep coming back and they will talk about it. So there's
Yeah.
just so many opportunities, every single touch point, right? Every interaction, every detail. And I just absolutely love that you guys are so tuned into that, to the actual
Mhm.
experience, and not just because often it can be like pulling all these pieces together. Here's the architect, here's the permitting, here's the, it's like all these different building blocks, but you have such a holistic approach to what you're bringing. And I mean, even the way you talk, the way you speak about it, I see that. And I just love that about the company. So excited to be working with you guys. And I just want to thank you again for coming on. Do you have any final words for our audience today?
No, this is very enjoyable. I love talking about our homes. It's completely, it's a genuine talk that we're having because we're so in tune with the end user and making that as enjoyable as possible because a lot of the brands that are coming to play in the outdoor hospitality industry,
Mm.
the majority of them are not prioritizing quality over quantity, but
Yeah.
all of them are trying to establish loyalty. And I bet we can tell who's going to be successful in that. So the brands that we work with, like Evolve, we're trying to set you guys up to really be one of the long-standing brands. I mean, you have an amazing record as it is, but just making sure that the people that come to Wind River are going to get our level of quality, and we're going to set you up for long-term success.
Yeah, that is so insightful, the way you articulated that, Amelia, that it's quality over quantity, or it's quantity over quality, but everybody's looking for loyalty. And one of the ways you can tell, like Evolve, this is part of our marketing and our message and our mission is to truly bring, like, I don't know, these words are overused, like concierge, but we really do want to bring that concierge experience to everyone, all of our clients. And that is what I've experienced thus far working with Wind River, is your heart for hospitality, the way we have been treated, because everyone is your guest. When you understand the essence of hospitality, it's not just the end, no, well, not just, but the end user or the end customer or guest that you are serving in hospitality, but it's everyone you work with. It's your team, it's your vendors, it's the people you collaborate with. And the way you interact with them says so much, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's been quite revealing and just surprisingly pleasant to work with all of you, because and it's really evident. It's just like every interaction, the way you show up. And so yeah, thank you for just being you and understanding that and then expressing that to the world. This is what we are trying to do, I believe, in the world today. We have greater expectations. We have access to technology, we have access to quality materials, to longevity. So why would we do it any other way? You know?
Absolutely. Yeah. I agree. I mean, we've had an amazing time working with your team too. We've grown our company looking for partnerships just like this. There are manufacturers out there making far more homes than we are, but we're really
Yeah.
trying to work with a specific segment of the industry like Evolve that's focused on quality, that's focused on what it really means to have an experience worthwhile. So just to also thank you for having me and talking about all these
Yeah.
things that we both feel so passionately about.
I know. It's so good to like when you're in business and you're affecting so many people's lives and you have the opportunity to do it well and to do it for the right reasons. So anyway, I could speak with you all day, but I appreciate you very much. Thank you for being here. And everyone who sees this, reach out to Amelia. All of her I mean, on LinkedIn, you can just click right through to her profile, but I'll have all of that available in the comments and description. Okay. Thank you. And I look forward to talking with you again and building just beautiful accommodations so that people can get out in nature and just feel better and see the world the way they want it to be, right?
Yes.
Share that with everyone.
I
All
love it.
right. Thank you, Amelia. You have a beautiful day, and we will talk very soon.
Thanks, Michelle.